on what is a glorious day here. Just terrific weather throughout the week. Ready to settle the gold medal here as you look at some of the names involved here in this final, some of the top names in this sport. Hicham El Guerrouj from Morocco, maybe the last time we see him race at this distance, Larry.
There you see his name at the bottom, along with Paul McMullen from the United States, the only American to qualify for the finals in the 1,500 meters. El Guerrouj has said, Terry, that he may well move up at the end of this season and run only 3,000 and 5,000 meter races, seeking new challenges.
Michael Johnson, Carol Lewis, Todd Harris will join us a little bit later on in our coverage. And Dwight, what about the American here, Paul McMullen?
The 29-year-old McMullen, as we now look at Hicham El Guerrouj, the world record holder, the Sydney silver medalist, heavily favored to win the gold last summer and was beaten down the home stretch in Sydney. But Paul McMullen, the American, first of all, did a great job to make this final. He ran some very savvy rounds in semifinals. We look at Bernard Lagat of Kenya, formerly of Washington State, who won the bronze medal in Sydney last year, was put on the Kenyan team at the last moment when the Olympic champion Noah Nyen was taken off for not coming to a training camp. But Paul McMullen of the U.S., who we will see with the blue jersey, has really had a great comeback. And just a new daddy. Daughter Olivia, only 6 weeks old, born during the national championships. And you can see him there in the foreground.
The men's 1,500 meter final underway here in Edmonton. The metric mile, 3 3/4 laps around this track.
Dwight, to give everybody an idea of the tough road ahead here in this race for Paul McMullen, 11 of the 12 athletes that you see in the screen in that race have faster 1,500 meter times than does McMullen, who is right now the tall man in blue, about halfway back running in lane 2 around the turn.
Hicham El Guerrouj out to the lead right now. Do you expect, Larry, what we saw the last time at the World Championship, someone to go out and sacrifice himself, maybe like we're seeing right now?
This man, number 767, Adil Kaouch of Morocco, did the same thing 2 years ago, went out and set a very strong pace so that the man in second place, wouldn't have to do that and pull everybody along. We're talking about Hicham El Guerrouj, but they were worried about the Kenyans, they said afterwards. They were worried about team tactics. They didn't want to have El Guerrouj get caught up. And El Guerrouj runs well off a hard pace. It looks like the same thing is being replicated. 55.4 seconds. That is 4.5 seconds per lap under a 4-minute mile pace. Phenomenal time.
And it's nice when you can bring your team with you. There's 3 Moroccans in this final, and we wouldn't be surprised if we saw the other Moroccan, Hakhlaf, come up and take the rabbiting duties. This is almost like a European setup, world record type of race, almost identical to Seville 2 years ago. We'll have to see if the Kenyans can have any effect on this whatsoever.
Adil Kaouch setting the pace right now. Very quick pace for Hicham El Guerrouj. Bernard Lagat of Kenya, then William Churchill of Kenya right behind him. Reyes Estevez of Spain then next in line. And Paul McMullen, you see him in the back of the screen there on the left side of your screen. There he is in the back of the pack. I think he's second from last, maybe or third from last. But now they're on, here they go, 2 laps.
Coming up to 800 meters. Add 17 seconds to the winner's time, and that's what the full mile distance time would be. 1:53 and change. Boy, this is a searingly fast pace. And remember, we are up at a little altitude. Perhaps it cost them 2 seconds in the mile here at 1,500 meters that they're running. There is El Guerrouj.
There goes the man, Hicham El Guerrouj, to the lead.
And they only ran a 58-second second lap, and El Guerrouj taking over early with 2 Kenyans behind him. That's Lagat and Churchill, and Reyes Estevez of Spain, who was a medalist 2 years ago, also looking quite good. That is not as relaxed a countenance as I'm used to seeing on Hicham El Guerrouj. That looks more like what he looked like in Sydney at about this point in the race last summer.
Now without a teammate around him to set that pace, and El Guerrouj, as you see, Rui Silva of Portugal making move in the back of this front pack here. You hear the bell for the final lap. El Guerrouj has the lead. Bernard Lagat of Kenya, William Churchill of Kenya.
Lagat very, very tough, trying to keep within a hailing distance of him here. 2:49, 2 minutes and 50 seconds for 3/4 of a mile. This is exactly like the Golden League races where they're all set up that we see. El Guerrouj really trying to put the pedal down here and win a major championship.
He threw in a 56-second lap on his own. He's got a nice distance between himself and Lagat. He's not incapable of being reeled in, but it's not what you normally see. He's not, however, just running away from him. And look at that face. He is hurting.
Starting to catch up. Hicham El Guerrouj. Can he last? Can he get there? Bernard Lagat is there. Dries Masuzi of France in third in the But El Garouche coming down to the line, being chased by Lagat. He's got enough time here. He wins the gold. Hicham El Garouche over Bernard Lagat and Dries Masusi as McMullen, now the American, comes down to the line.
Struggling in that last 100 meters. I watched him through the binoculars over the last 200 meters, and McMullen was struggling. And there is a man who hasn't always had success on almost all occasions he has. The road to success is always under construction, and in Olympic Games it has been for El Garouche as he wins.
I've got to think that Paul McMullen really used everything he had in the rounds and the semifinals. But look at the stretch. I was not that pleased with the look he had on his face. It looked similar to Sydney. He looked back, and obviously he knew, if I have to go, I can go. And he started doing his celebration. He started blowing his kisses, doing his religious thing that he has done so many times in these types of races. And Bernard Lagat simply could not make up the gap. And once again, El Garouche wins a world championship, but still yet to be an Olympic champion at this distance.
El Garouche, the world record holder in the 1500, the mile, and the 2,000 meters. Just won his third straight world title in this event. And McMullen, you got to give him credit for making it to the final after all he's been through. Lawnmower accident with the parts of two toes being cut off, being up in weight, coming back down, and making it to the final. But it's El Garouche from Morocco who wins the gold. Bernard Lagat the silver. Dries Masusi from France the bronze. When we come back.